And joining me in the studio is Eran Etzion. He's the former Deputy National Security Advisor and Head of Policy Planning at the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But first, let's go back to Ramallah and speak to Nidal Fouqaha. He's the head of the Palestinian Peace Coalition and a former advisor to PLO Chairman Yasser Abed Rabo. And Nidal, you've been involved in several peace initiatives, official, unofficial. John Bolton, we just heard saying it's a mistake for the Palestinians not to have gone to Bahrain, to have a chance for economic improvement. How do you answer that?
Well, good evening first. Actually, it's not a mistake at all. Definitely, what has been talking about in the Bahrain is a purely economic issue. And when it comes to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, we all know that the solution is a pure political. And as far as when it comes to all preparations and when it comes to all consultations and talks with all relevant and irrelevant parties, there were no mention of a political deal, no mention of the two-state solution as the starting point of any talks between the Palestinians and the Israelis, or within the framework of this intervention by the United States. This definitely means a discouraging factor for the Palestinians. So since the Americans are not talking about a political solution, the Americans are not talking about the two-state solution, the Americans are not talking about any of the terms of reference of the Middle East peace process, and they are planning to impose a new rules of the game, a new type of peace, which is the economic peace. We, the Palestinians, we believe this is not the way forward, and as such, the Palestinians decided to boycott and not to go for the workshop in the Bahrain.
Right. Nidal, Jared Kushner and others have said that political horizon is coming next. So what would have been wrong to discuss economics now, knowing that that political horizon is on the way?
Well, that's strange. What prevents Mr. Kushner from starting directly and immediately with a political process and with a political package, then to be followed by an economic package? Unfortunately, there is no confidence from the side of the Palestinians in such statements or declarations. We know the way forward, and we are aware about several such plans and proposals, economic, financial, which several parties talked about, but we are pretty sure that any of such plans to see success definitely need a clear political horizon. Right. We know that if we want to implement any project, any even a short road or a water pipeline, we need certain approvals, and actually we cannot ensure such approvals unless we are ending from a political process and reaching a certain understandings between us Palestinians and Israelis.
Right. Eran, you've just heard Nidal. Now, Israelis are fond of saying the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Does he have a legitimate point there, or is this another missed opportunity for the Palestinians?
It is another missed opportunity, but perhaps for a change, it's not entirely the Palestinians' fault. It's first and foremost the fault of the Trump administration. All American administrations who have been brokering or attempting to broker previous peace agreements and architectures have all taken great care to at least maintain the seemingness of being an honest broker, an impartial broker. This administration, for the first time, abandoned it fully and took Israel's side 100%. Given this fact, which nobody can actually debate, one can hardly blame the Palestinians for understanding that, you know, they're not going to get a fair chance, if you will, around the negotiating table. So, as far as I'm concerned, the main blame, if you will, rests at this point with the Americans and not the Palestinians.
Let me ask you, because I know you were involved in Israeli diplomacy in the Gulf and what we could call perhaps the golden age of the Oslo Accords. A lot of people saying this is unprecedented, but in fact we did see quite a lot of activity. What is the role that you see from the perspective of Israel that a Gulf state like Bahrain is trying to play here?
Yeah, first of all, you're right. I was involved 15 years ago pretty heavily in the Oslo process and the various multilateral tracks. And I'm actually a little bit saddened to watch the pictures coming in from Bahrain, because we missed a huge opportunity back then. We're missing another opportunity now. And it's unfortunate. To your question, the Gulf in general and Bahrain specifically all have a role to play in a carefully constructed, multilateral, regional peace architecture. Yes, peace and prosperity, as they say, but the sequence is wrong. And unfortunately, again, this time around, it's not going to happen. What role can they play? I have been, as I said, involved in various previous architectures. Kushner was saying earlier that they have come up with this 140 pages plan, which is unprecedented in scope and depth. This is incorrect. We have made even bigger plans, bigger, bolder, if you will, wider, encompassing more countries. They decided, for some reason, to include Lebanon, Egypt, Jordan, obviously the Palestinians and Israel. They do not have a comprehensive regional plan of the kind we did have back in the 90s that involves the Gulf more directly, even at the time involved the Maghreb countries, Morocco, Tunisia, and others. So there's potentially, if you look at it from, if you will, a McKinsey perspective or a business consultant perspective, there's a lot that can be achieved. But the political ground bases or ground rules have to be there first.
Well, let's talking about what could be achieved. Among the participants there is Jeffrey Sonnefeld. He's the Senior Associated Dean on Leadership Studies at Yale University, and he said this in Bahrain to our Nurit Ben.
While there's so much skepticism out there, of course, where are the main political parties, where's the political solution? In a funny way, it's almost, in fact, an ironic way, it's a strong statement that this is going ahead without the key parties, because there's such a spirit that you feel in this lobby and around the building about wanting to get on with collaborative work in the Middle East and not be tripped up over the Israel-Palestinian issue forever.
Nidal, I just want to get your reaction to the fact that with all the reservations you presented, Bahrain decided to host this event. Saudi Arabia sent representatives. Egypt, Jordan. Does not represent a significant shift in the Arab world towards the way the Palestinians are handling their own, let's say, struggle for statehood?
Well, you know, the United States called for holding a workshop in Bahrain, or asked Bahrain to call for this workshop. And unfortunately, you know, at the beginning, we expected, or we have some expectation at least, from certain countries not to take part, simply because we and they also on their side, they know that this is not the way forward. But definitely, such countries, they have certain different agendas directly connected with the American administration and on certain other portfolios irrelevant to Palestine or the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. But within all these actually circumstances and conditions, the Bahrain decided to go ahead with this workshop. This workshop remains very marginal and not important as far as the Palestinian leadership and the BA is not participating. And the BA is saying in advance, we will not be engaged nor even cooperating with the outcome of this workshop unless a certain political track is being presented. So first to start with the political process, and then we can move to the economic issue. The economic issue and the role of the Bahrain might be needed in the future, and as well as all other Arab states, specifically the Gulf states, in order to sustain and support any peace deal between the Palestinians and the Israelis. But not, unfortunately, actually, to help in providing an alternative to the political track through presenting an economic package which might lead us only to an economic peace if it will exist, and that is it. So this is the main concern of the Palestinians, and this is why actually the Palestinians firmly believe that the Bahrain Workshop is doomed to failure in advance. No proposal will be accepted by any Arab leader or even by the Arab publics if the Palestinians will not accept it or say yes for it.
Eran, you've just heard.
Differ a little
okay,
bit.
so why don't you respond to Nidal?
While in principle he's right, of course, and there is a strict limit or limitation to the level of relations and normalization that Israel can achieve with the Arab states, including the Gulf states, without the Palestinians. But I don't think anybody can deny that there has been a steady progress in terms of the level, the breadth, and the depth of the relations that we have with these Arab countries, mostly under the table and under the radar, but nevertheless still expanding in terms of trade, in terms of even intelligence cooperation and other defense issues. So it's not as if the train is not leaving the station without the Palestinians. The train has left the station, but it's moving very slowly, and it won't get very far unless and until the Palestinians get on it.
Very briefly, Prime Minister Netanyahu says he's going to wait and see. Do you think he might have some reservations going forward about this plan? There are some aspects, the link between the West Bank and Gaza, he objects to.
I think he'll be very careful not to express any reservations at this point. And then he's facing elections, as you know, and we do not know what will happen with the other political part of the plan. It may not even see.
That may never leave the station. That train may never leave the station.
It may not even happen. And
may not even make it to the station.
It's going to be in a different political era, in an election year in the States, and so on and so forth. So I don't think we can expect any reservations.
Okay, Eran Etzion and in Ramallah, Nidal Fouqaha, thank you for joining us on our special edition on i24.